Hey all, this is Chris, and I'm here to talk today about objections that people have to the New Testament. The first objection that I want to talk about is that some people don't believe that the text we have now is the same text that believers had back in Jesus' time. And so what we know right now is that there are there's thousands and thousands of manuscripts that are available. And some can be traced as early as back as 125 AD. And these manuscripts have the same exact text to what we currently have in our Bibles now. It is the best preserved ancient piece of literature ever. Now, some of these manuscripts are as far back as 125, and some are as back as the 15th century. Now, all of them show that the gospel, that the Bible, that the New Testament has been faithfully rewritten over and over and over again. Another objection that some people have is that they don't believe that the New Testament was written just by the authors that were there. And to some extent, that is actually true. For instance, in the epistles, we know that Paul wrote with co-authors, as well as sometimes people were the scribes on his behalf. Now, this isn't like a hidden fact. This is a well-known fact that the New Testament actually talks about within these epistles. Now, not only that, maybe not everything is written down by the apostles, but it is the account of the many interactions that the apostles had with Jesus. And actually, in John, verse 21 through 25, it actually says, Jesus did many other things as well. If every one of them were written down, I suppose that even the whole world would not have room for the books that could be written. So there's just so much material out there. And the funny part about this is it leads to my next point. The gospel, or the four gospels that we have, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, were actually written, they're not the same document. A lot of people lump everything together into the New Testament, but Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John were all four separate documents that were going around that time. Now, Matthew, Mark, and Luke are remarkably similar. So what does this tell us? We have three documents back then that are remarkably similar, that are essentially saying the same thing from three different authors. That cannot be coincidence. Now, another big issue that some people like to talk about is how the Bible right now might not be, relevant to our age and time. Now, while humanity has progressed in a bunch of different areas, technologically, we have cars now. Politically, we have governments that are just advanced. And even culturally, there have just been advancements that have come. But at our hearts, at our core, we're still the same human beings. Take children, for example. Children are what made me believe in original sin. You still see selfishness. You still see unkindness. You still see anger and frustration, and all of these things just take over humanity and our souls and our emotions. They just always get the better of us. And this is something that the Bible speaks to. Just because they didn't have the same technology or politics or culture that we have now doesn't mean that the Bible isn't relevant. In fact, it's just as relevant as ever. There's still sin. And that's ultimately what the Bible speaks to. Now, the final objection that I want to talk about is that some people believe that the New Testament can be interpreted by everybody differently. This is called reader interpretation. It means that you can get whatever you want out of the text and it's fine. But that's kind of false. Think about it. If you were to write an email or a Facebook post or write a letter to somebody, you have an express intent, something that you're trying to convey to those people, a specific message. And so it's the same with the New Testament. It's trying to speak to us about specific problems, the problems of sin, and how the only thing that can fix that, the only thing that can redeem us from our current state is the figure of Jesus Christ. And so it's important for us to realize that. I hope that helped to clear up some objections some people have about the New Testament, and I hope you have a great day.